Sometimes a special comes along that almost mandates purchasing the product, even though you don't need it immediately. You put it on the shelf, and then life happens, and later on, you get a wonderful surprise. It's almost like getting two purchases for the price of one great deal. Would you like to see what it is? I'm Scott Bain. They call me the Old Farmer. I've done a review on the Grizzly H8236 brad nailer and stapler kit that has a stapler and an 18-gauge nailer. That's episode 101, Grizzly H8236 brad nailer and stapler kit. It took me an extremely long amount of time to think up a name for that episode. I like the nailer and use it often. When the job calls for brad nails, it's light and easy to use. I just never use the stapler. It works great, but I don't open staple very much.
Well, sitting on the shelf like Cinderella was the Harbor Freight Bank's 23-gauge nailer. For those who can't actually visualize what a 23-gauge wire is, think of the traditional office stapler. Most often the staple is a 21 or 23 gauge wire made into a staple. The nailer can take lengths from 1/2 inch to 1 inch. A pen nailer means there's no head on the nail like you would see with a brad nail. Let's open the plastic case and see what we get. There is the air nailer, of course, 2 Allen wrenches for the 2 different size hex screws, and a replacement driver blade unit. At least I think that's what they're calling it. There is no exploded view of the unit to confirm this. And finally, something that Harbor Freight calls a manual. In fact, I would say this is one of the worst manuals created by man or woman or something in between. There is no real information in it to help with operating the tool. Of all the safety instructions in the manual, they forgot the most important part: detailed instructions on how to use and adjust the tool. Harbor Freight should be ashamed selling a product without legitimate instructions included.
Oh wait, what's this?
It's the definition of a Harbor Freight manual. Don't print anything that's actually useful. The bank's air nailer has good ratings. If we eliminate operator error, some have said the air nipple is the wrong size, and a couple actually had failures. The rest of the time, the nailer got high marks. The ease of use is pretty good, but I would say the Grizzly 18-gauge nailer is a better fit for my hand and easier to use. This is only my opinion. Others may feel just the opposite, but it's not to infer that it's awkward. The only awkward thing is the instructions. Notice how I snuck in another jab at Harbor Freight manuals. The nailer does handle well, and I like that it's a 23-gauge nailer instead of being an 18-gauge nailer, which they have 2 versions of the bank's air nailer at 18-gauge. The pen seats well, and I haven't had any misfires as of yet. I do feel it would be better having a 1/4 inch hose feeding air instead of the 3/8 I was using. With the Grizzly, it doesn't seem to matter as much. Bassador Woodworking has been using his pen nailer for a year. I have left a link to his review in the comments. This is a new channel and can use all the help you can give him. So make YouTube happy by jumping through all the hoops for the channel. I would guess that this pen nailer has been sitting on the shelf for about a year without any problems, I might add. And I would say that most tools do a pretty good job right out of the box. It's after a bit of time that they start misbehaving. Where I would recommend the use of this nailer is for a framing shop that builds picture frames or other light-duty commercial work just as I have said with the Grizzly kit. And because of the exchange policy of Harbor Freight, I would spend the extra for the warranty. If you look at the warranty of a tool like DeWalt, you have to ship it back to them or to a service center, and then wait up to half a year for it to be fixed or replaced. Construction workers won't put up with such things. They throw the tool away and buy a new one. They don't have time to be without the tool, and they don't want the hassle of shipping it someplace. This is why Harbor Freight's warranty is a good fit for many businesses, especially since Harbor Freight's quality is improving with some of their lines. Since Harbor Freight is improving many of their tools, I would like to add this side note. I've told Harbor Freight I won't consider buying any of their lights without knowing the Kelvin color rating of the light. I want 5,000 Kelvin in work areas and below 3,000 Kelvin in quiet areas such as bedrooms. Well, Harbor Freight is starting to add the Kelvin rating to their lights. There are a couple already with their Kelvin color numbers, and I would imagine they'll be adding more as they offer new lights. Good show and thumbs up to Harbor Freight. Good job. Here's my final thoughts about the Banks 23-gauge air nailer. It's worth the price. If you have a small shop, I would get it, but remember, get the warranty. As for me, I will be using it in places where I want to tack something together while the glue dries. It's a good tool. And in addition to working well in the shop, it's a darn good paperweight besides. Who would have known?
Well, this is the old farmer, Scott Bain. Be well. Be safe.
Don't forget to click like and click subscribe on the Old Farmer YouTube channel, and thanks again for watching. Bye.
The VFW National Home for Children, providing families of veterans and active duty military opportunities for growth and development in a nurturing community. Please consider a donation to help their children and families. I.C. Rhodes speaking.